بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا من فضلك علما وعملا خيرا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا وأكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا أكرم الأكرمين ويا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So we continue with the ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. So the context so far, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been telling us and addressing the contemporaries of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and everyone after about what the ancestors of the contemporaries of the Jewish people in Medina, what they did. And this can apply to anyone, who was alive or what they has the same trend, same attitude, and it's an invitation. So the whole context so far has been, don't do this, right? Don't be like this. Don't do this, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have created humanity and left us to it, right? And then judged us based on what's good, what's bad, various standards, or he could just left us and that's it, when we die, it's over. No, there's an akhirah. And in it are tremendous akhirati maghfiratun, right? Tremendous forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which everyone needs, right? Wa ajrun, tremendous wage, huge reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of this, it makes much more sense if you really think about the consequences. There is an afterlife. There is a place called paradise where there's absolute, indescribable pleasure that lasts forever, right? And there is a place called hell, where there's absolute, indescribable torment that lasts forever, right? And Allah does not want you to go there. It's there for a set of people whose actions, whose poor choices were taken there. Allah doesn't want that for anyone. Why has He sent so many messengers? Why are the messengers soft-hearted, people that keep wanting to guide people over and over? It's because Allah doesn't want people to go there, right? But life's a test, right? And so there are lines, He's a king, so He goes lines. And so He's speaking to these people, speaking to us, don't do this, don't be like this, right? Do the best in your ability to avoid being like this. And there's the other place, and the reward itself justifies the tests, right? So that's the context so far. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the first ayah we look at now is interesting. Let's read the ayah and we can comment on it after. So He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Indeed, those who believed. So I'm going to address this. There are certain things about this translation which we need to amend. It says, those who believed and those who were Jews or Christians or Sabians before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those among them who believed in Allah and the last day and did righteousness will have their reward with their Lord, and no fear will there be concerning them, no they be. Right. This translation is erroneous, right? And the simple reason being, this is not what the Qur'an is saying. In order to understand the Qur'an, you have to understand the context. I haven't been going into super detail, but we've been looking at how the whole surah is a complete block so far, right? Everything's connected to this, radical the guidance, the types of people, those who turn away from the guidance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. Like I just contextualized this now. So what is the context here? The context here, which Abu Sa'ud argues very powerfully, as you say, Tantawi and other people, they argue very powerfully that the context here is presenting Islam and inviting people to accept it, right? That is the context. So what have people who followed the religion that came to them in the past, whether it was a form of, what we believe is the same religion that was just altered by people, right? So whether those early Jews or early Christians or people of any other religion or whatever they were following, what is that going to do now with, who Allah is speaking to now, right? But the context is not about telling us about them and they're all right, if they're following the truth, they'll get a reward. No. So the context here is different. It's here's your opportunity. Here is your opportunity to believe, right? So let's look at it. So he says, Inna alladhina amanu. So, and obviously, like I said, like Abdul-Rahim Reasat said, that Inna is strongly connected to the previous discussion, right? And the previous discussion is, don't be like these people, right? Don't be like these people. Accept this deen that's been given to you and don't rebel and turn away, right? So he says, Inna alladhina amanu, right? Indeed, those, so literally means those who believe, right? Those who have believed, right? And so now there's two interpretations here, there's two potential meanings. So the first potential meaning is those of the believers, those of the Muslims, the contemporaries of the Prophet, yeah, those who have already believed, right, or those who will believe in his lifetime and after, right. So that's one meaning, right. So it's talking about these people, and then if they remain on faith and stay firm on faith, then they'll get this reward. Right? That's one meaning. Another meaning, which Abu Saud is going back much further in the context and he's connecting it to the hypocrites. So he's saying, indeed, those who believe, right, quote unquote, believe, the hypocrites, right? So, because he mentions three other groups of disbelievers after them, right? The Jews, the Christians, and the Sabians, right? So Abu Saud is saying that here, those who believe is the intended meaning, right? The hypocrites, those who claim to have belief, those who claim to have belief, and we'll comment on this, right? I'll come back to it. And it's a strong argument. They're both valid. So, Inna alladhina amanu, those who have believed, right? Walladhina hadu, right? And the Jews. So, hadu, this is a term that refers to the Jews after the time of Sayyidina Sulaiman, right? I won't go into it. Or it's a reference to Yahuda, who was the eldest son of Sayyidina Yaqub. Or it could just be a term referring to the Jews in general, because of the dua that Sayyidina Musa made, Inna hudna ilayk. So indeed we repent to you, we turn back to you. So hada, we go back to you, so we turn to you. So that's the name of the religion, but he's talking about the Jewish people, right? The religion of the Jews. So those who believe, according to one of the two interpretations mentioned, and those and the Jews, وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى, right? And he's translated as the Christians. What does Nasara mean? So Nasara, two potential meanings. Nasara is those who comes from Nasr, right? To help someone else. So talking about the disciples and those that ended up following them, the disciples of Jesus who helped Jesus in his mission. Another potential root for this word, it's probably the stronger one, is Nasara is basically a reference to the town of Nazareth, right? So we know that Sayyidina Isa stayed there for the period. So Jesus of Nazareth, right? The Nazarene, they called him, right? So the religion connected to the Nazarene, right? Or Nasara, right? And then was-Sabi'in, right? And which is the Sabians. So there's a difference of opinion regarding this, right? And some said it was an actual religion, and they used to worship the stars. There's the ikhtilaf, did they actually worship the stars, or did they just venerate them like we venerate the Kaaba? But the point was that they were not Muslims, right? And the point was they weren't believers. So these groups here, if you take the believers as being hypocrites, and none of these people, their iman is valid, right? So Allah says, group 1, 2, 3, and 4, these people, right? So either he's including the believers in here, the true believers, saying if you stay firm on your religion, you'll be rewarded. Or he's talking to the hypocrites and inviting them, look, accept Islam. So indeed, in the living Amna, those who believe on the two interpretations, one Nasara and the Jews and the Christians and the Sabians. The other interpretation of Sabians is Sabi'a, which means for someone to leave one religion and join another, right? It's very common in the Sira, if you read the Arabic, to say Sabi'a Umar, right? You know, when Umar accepted Islam, he said that it's a derogatory term in Arabic, right? Sabi'a. So it's like he has one thing, he leaves it, goes to another. The meaning here in that case would be those who leave the true religion, whatever it, you know, however it's manifested throughout history, and go to a false religion, right? And adopt a false religion or live, from a false religion, right? So he's saying anyone that's of this category, right? So if you take the meaning of the hypocrites, those were the hypocrites, and Jews and Christians, and those who are, you know, follow any other religion that's not sanctioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, Man amana billahi, right? So it's like me saying, the eldest students, the youngest students, and the most intelligent students, whoever studies from amongst them. So I've brought up a few people, and then I'm going into a further discussion, saying something about them, right? That's what's happening here. So, Man amana billahi wal yawmil akhir wa amila salihan, right? From amongst them, those among them who believed in Allah and the last day and did righteousness, right? So he's put it in the past tense in the translation, but you could justifiably translate this in the present tense, right? In English, whoever believes and in Allah and the last day and does good deeds, good works. Why can you say? Because one of the purposes of putting it in the past tense is to indicate firmness. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in some places, those who disbelieved, past tense, they disbelieved and they stayed that way, right? So the same understanding would be here that way. Out of these people, whoever believes and stays firm, وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا, the word amal also has this thing of long-term good deeds, right? Then, you know, for a while, right? And just continues to do good deeds, عَمِلًا صَالِحًا, but excellent righteous deeds. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ, they'll have their ajr, right? Their reward. We talk about this, right? So the point is, he's saying, no matter what your background is, no matter what you've done and what disbelief you've had, whatever, whoever believes in Allah and the last day and everything in between, the books, the angels, the messengers, destiny, all of these things. So they're all included. Like we talked in the early parts of the Baqara, the hypocrite said, Amanna billahi wa yawmil akhir, we believe in Allah and the last day. Same thing here. Whoever believes in Allah and everything in between and the last day, everything we're meant to believe, all these things. Man amna billahi wa yawmil akhir, right? What happens? فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. They have their wage, and it's in the presence of their Rabb. Firstly, what does ajr mean? Ajr is a wage. How do you translate it? They will have their reward with their Lord. Okay. So an ajr is a wage. So what's a wage? It's an agreement. I say to someone, build me a fence around my garden, and we agree on a price, and if you build it, I'll pay you, right? So in essence, it's basically saying, you do the work, I will give you what you rightfully deserve, right? And this is clearly a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, none of you will enter paradise through his deeds. Not even you, Ya Rasulullah. He said, not even me, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wraps me and covers me with his generosity and mercy, right? So our deeds, no matter what you do, they're not, even if you live 1,000 years, right, they'll be deficient in terms of, deserving the reward of paradise and the other rewards, right? The ajr here is not specified. It can be rewards of more blessings in the dunya and in the akhirah, right? So Allah's honoring you. It's something you don't deserve, but Allah's saying here, it's a wage for you. You deserve it, well done, right? It's just honor, ikram and takreem from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, honoring the believers, and it's encouraging here that, that no matter what you've done, whether you've been a hypocrite or you've disbelieved and you've rejected the truth and you've hid it, it doesn't matter, right? If you believe the way you're meant to believe according to Allah's standards and do good deeds, you'll have this tremendous gain, right? فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ they'll have their wage, it's theirs fully, right? عند ربهم, and it's in the presence of their Lord. Firstly, it's their Lord who's kind, caring, and loving. So he look at this opportunity He's given them, and secondly, it's further encouragement to go and do this, right? It's further encouragement to go and believe and do more of these good deeds. SubhanAllah. And also because you're saying it's coming from their Rabb who loves them. Abu Saud says that it's because it's from their Rabb, their loving Lord. It means it's guaranteed, right? That and one of the scariest thing about like getting something amazing is losing it, right? So it's like it's guaranteed, you get it and you won't lose it after that. Allah will keep it there for you, keep it safe, protected. That's what will happen. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. Yeah? وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. We looked at this before. And no one need fear for them, right? And they will not feel grief. So Abu Saud, we talked about this, Abu Saud says that the things that would make someone fear for them won't happen to them, right? So dunya and the akhirah, Abu Saud says, the tests of life are one thing, but it's not something to be afraid to this person. And the things that really should make someone grieve over something, especially in the akhirah, they won't happen, right? Because this person will be safe under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's an invitation. Look at these people, what they did, time and time again. Huge blessings that they got and protection, and Allah's alliance and everything, and look what they were doing. Don't be that. Don't be that wrong. Here's your opportunity. No matter what you've done in the past, no matter what you've done, just come back, believe in Allah according to His standards, the way He wants it, and the last day and everything else you're meant to believe in. Do good deeds, and you've got this tremendous reward, and you won't have anything to worry about. You're going to be completely safe. That's right. So this is, Allah's invitation, and it's an interlude because it's about iman and it's about deeds, right? So we're gonna, so the ayat continue now about, the deeds that these people, were doing. Don't do this. Don't do this. Right? Don't have this attitude. Don't have this, the source of what their deeds were. This, this attitude internally. Stay. They're going to rebel. They're going to do this. So what? Don't be like this. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala next moves the discussion forward and says, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ, right? And when we وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And because when we took the covenant, the children of Israel, to abide by the Torah, and we raised over you the mount, saying, take what we have given you with determination, and remember what is in it, that perhaps you may become righteous, right? So once again, we're going back to this discussion of these people. Allah was mentioning more things that they did, right, to rebel, and because now and they're going to get the story of the Palestinians as well. It's don't be like this, right? And one of the things about the Qur'an, Allah nazzala ahsan al-hadith kitaban mutashabihan mathani. Allah has revealed the best hadith, best speech, right? A book which resembles itself, right? The discussions are not too different, right? That's resemble itself. Mathani, the things are repeated, the message is repeated to get it across, right? And so he says, so that's that ayah. So any other interpretation about saying anyone who follows whatever religion they follow, as long as they believe in God or they submit to God, they're saved in the Akhirah. No, right? That's a false. That's not what the Quran is saying, and that interpretation by the Tafsir of Islam don't do this, right? That you can be on whatever religion that you want, regardless, and you're safe as long as you submit to God in the wrong, right? Okay, so then he says, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا, once again, وَإِذْ, recall that time in order to record all of the details within it. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ, and we took this mithaq, right? And a mithaq is a pledge, a promise, but from thiqa wa thaq, is meant for something to be tied up really tight, so it's not going anywhere. So it's such a huge promise and a pledge that it's like you put all of your honor and everything that you can just to make the person you're making the promise to feel safe that, you know what, yes, they're going to hold on to this. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ, and the story behind this is Sayyidina Musa came with the Torah and they said, we're not going to believe. So, until we see Allah, straight up, in front of us, right, with our own eyes. Talked about this in the previous ayat. And so then, they died, and then they were brought back to life, right? And then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were told, believe, and they said, then they said, this is the book, this, take, follow its dictates, right, fully. Do you accept this agreement? What's the agreement? That, I'll give you paradise, right? إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ وَأَنفُسَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ. Indeed, Allah has purchased from the believers their wealth and properties and their own selves in exchange for paradise for them, right? And so it's the same thing. And they kept saying, no, we don't accept it, until eventually what happened? Mount Sinai. So the word Tur here, وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورِ, and we raised above you Tur. So a Tur in Arabic is a description, it's not a name here. The Tur means a really high, lofty mountain, like a big, high mountain, right? You can have smaller mountains, you can have huge ones, right? So a huge mountain, which mountain is this? Mount Sinai, right? Turi Sina, Turi Sini. It's Mount Sinai, and the angels came, Allah with His infinite power Himself, raised the mountain over them, and it covered them. It's like right over them, and it was a threat. Accept it, or it's over. The mountain will be dropped on them, right? Because of their stubborn rebellion. Look what He's done for you time and time again. Look at this opportunity He's giving you, right? And people need guidance. People need laws. Without laws, لا يصلح الناس فوضى لا صراط لهم. As Al-Quran said, that anarchy is not suitable for people. If there are no laws, if there's no ruling bodies, and it leads to chaos, right? So all of these and the wisdoms and the things that Allah knows is good for them, just ignoring that, right? وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورِ, and He said, خُذُوا. So this will be in quotations, take. خُذُوا, strong, powerful word. أخذ, yeah, يأخذ, خُذُوا, with power. خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ, take what we have granted you, right? These laws, this book, this revelation, right? The Torah, Allah said in it is tremendous guidance, right? And light, right? To help people. خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ, take it with power, with force, with strength. So grip on to it, hold on to it. Understand this is from Allah. Understand it's beneficial. That things that will guide you, help you, benefit. Saying in the Quran, right? So take this wholeheartedly, right? وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ, right? And remember, learn what's in it, recall what's in it, remember what's in it, discuss what's in it, study amongst yourself, its contents, all of these things. وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, right? We talk about لَعَلَّكُمْ in the hope of, so you do it hoping that you become, that you have taqwa, that you gain taqwa, that you become people of taqwa, right? Taqwa meaning what? To deflect what? The punishment in the dunya, which they've almost got there, and the punishment of the akhirah. Right? We ask Allah's protection from both. Right? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So it's really interesting that Allah is saying, do this, and here's why. Right? لَعَلَّكُمْ. In the hoping that you can attain this taqwa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of it in the Qur'an, He gives us a ruling and He gives us a reason, right? Because He could have just said do X, Y, and Z, and that would be insufficient. It's from Allah. But sometimes people need to understand, the purpose, the wisdom behind an action. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the reason behind it, right? Fasting, all these things. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And Allah. So this was under the pattern. They had to be forced into accepting this and taking on this pledge, because it's your benefit lies in here, and the things you do are harmful to yourself, hurts to yourself, they're harmful to others. Allah's showing you a better way. Allah's giving you the opportunity to benefit, and all of these things. And what do they do? No, we don't want this. Right? So what can you say? So then, the next ayah, ثم توليتم من بعد ذلك فلولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لكنتم من الخاسرين. Then he says ثم. We talked about this type of ثم before. It's moreover, but more mixed. It has a meaning moreover, but mixed with shock and disgust. ثم توليتم من بعد ذلك. And after all of this, you turned away, right? ثم توليتم, right? You turned away. So this word tawalli, ثم توليتم, then you turned away after that. And if not for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy, you'd have been amongst the losers, right? So this word tawallaytum, tawalla literally means to do a 180, turn around. So what you're facing is now behind your back, and you walk off in that direction, right? And so imagine someone's coming to you, and you're hungry, you're starving, you're in need of food, and you need of clothing, help, and support. Imagine all of this, and someone comes up to you, and someone comes to you saying, "Look, I've got money for you, I've got clothing, I've got job opportunity, all of these things here," and you don't even respond. You just turn around and walk off. What's wrong with you? Everything you need is being given to you, but you're ignoring it, right? And how will that, from human standards, how will that make the person who's offering these gifts feel, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the King of Kings, right? He doesn't have the emotions that we have, but it's there are offensive acts, right? So it says ثُمَّ تَوَلَّيْتُم مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ, just min ba'di, just after, right? You made this huge promise and pledge before, right? Okay, then you say, okay, right, we'll do this, and then not long passes and you're back to square one, right? Min ba'di dhalik, so we talked about that, right? So Allah is saying, after that incident where you're given this revelation, Musa and the cow, and then you were killed, Allah brought it back to life. The mountains, over your head collapse, and you say, okay, and then not long passes, not even a week passes, for example, right? And you're back to square one. And only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be like this, right? And because if it's a human being that just give up, fine, go, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still kind, still loving, still merciful, still generous. So then he says, فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ لَكُنْتُم مِّنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. If it wasn't for the generosity of Allah. So he's saying, he says, you've turned away from my remembrance. You've turned away from obeying me. You've broken your promises and pledges, right? You've ignored applying my book, living according to its rules. You've not been affected, you've not allowed yourselves to be affected by the warnings and signs and the reminders, right? And you've done so much that you deserve my anger and my punishment. But you're not getting punished and you're not getting treated by my anger because of my generosity and my mercy. It's come between you and my punishment, right? فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. If it wasn't for the fadl, the generosity, Allah's been over and above what He has to do. فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ, and His infinite kindness and mercy, right? Right? لَكُنْتُمْ, you surely would have been, or the people that are complete losers, لَكُنْتُمْ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ, surely, right? Allah. Allah. Right? لَكُنْتُمْ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And so then there's a couple of verses. Quickly. So he says, and then he says, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِرِينَ. He said, and you had already known about those who transgressed amongst you concerning the Sabbath, and you said to them, be apes, despised. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمْ. So Allah is swearing an oath that, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He can do what He wants. He's testing these people, right? And there's a town called Ayla, which is now modern day in Jordan, southern Jordan, Aqaba, like seaside resort. And so these people live there, good Jews live there, they lived there and they were fishermen, right? And they were given a command on the Sabbath, worship, nothing else, no work. So what they did is they dug all these trenches and whatever, and they made this system. Because what was happening is Allah, to test them, was sending more fish on Saturday to their waters than usual, right? In fact, there were loads of fish as a test, and He can test them. Look what He's going to give them in return: the akhirah, paradise, all of these things, and in the dunya, right? So it's up to Him. He wants to test their resolve, and are they going to fulfill this pledge, right? And if there's no test, like you're fasting, right? And if you don't feel hunger, if you don't feel thirst, then if it's just like any other day completely, then it's not, without that difficulty, it's not a test, right? And if your fasting was supposed to be just for 5 minutes, have a big meal and then go eat for 5 minutes, what good would that be, right? So then what they did is they set up they dug all of these holes in the shore, whatever, so that water would filter in or whatever, and with the water the fish would come in as well, and they wouldn't touch them until Sunday, and then they'd go and they'd go for fish. So some of them said, look, this is an outward obedience, right? Like it's a game, you're playing a game with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, aren't you, right? Outwardly you're showing, okay, we're not doing anything on Saturday, but you're setting this up, right? You do it on Fridays, but you set this up so the fish will come on Saturday, you can go collect them on Sunday. It's a joke, you're making a mockery out of this, right? And the point was, fish normally, and when Saturday comes, don't do anything, right? And on Saturday, when the test came, you avoid it, right? So, if you look at the situation that you have a need, and then you can go and get this interest-bearing loan or whatever, and, here's a test, right? I would avoid it, right? That's what's expected. And then, so they started playing games, right? So Allah doesn't fall for it, right? وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ. And indeed so do not physically know, but they know their qualities and what kind of people they were. And they might have known their names. اعتدوا, those people that, اعتدا is like, there's a clear line, do not cross this, but they just shoot straight past, they don't care, they cross the line. Minkum, again, from amongst the contemporaries of the Prophet, we're counting all of these, they're us, they are us and we are them, they're all one group. They transgressed on the Sabbath. فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ. So we said to them, be monkeys, right? And monkeys are not, really honored, like apes. They're not an honored animal. They're not something that's looked at, seen as being silly, foolish, right? And mischievous, this kind of thing. So it's Allah changed their physical form. Some of the Mujahid and the early Mufassir said no, their hearts were altered, the state of their hearts was altered. The majority of the scholars of Tafsir said no, it was a physical transfiguration. Right? They turned into monkeys, and that's not difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you think about it, Allah, nothing existed, and then Allah created everything. So, it's not like building a house where you got the raw materials and then you just construct it. No, Allah made the raw materials, right? So if you can do that, you can do anything else. You can change the form of one thing to another. So be kunu qiradatan. So be is as though as soon as he said it, it happened. So the word be, so the expression saying be, these monkeys, is an expression of how quickly it happened, right? They did it, there's a punishment, right? Khasi'een. Khusu is basically it's humiliation. Right? It's also a word used to push away, repel, chase away animals. You say ikhsa in Arabic, a dog. Ikhsa, get away from it, like that. Allah. فَجَعَلْنَاهَا نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا وَمَا خَلْفَهَا وَمَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we made it, right? It, what do you mean by it? This incident, this punishment, right? The iqab, the punishment, نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا, as we made it a deterrent punishment for those who are present, yeah? So, بَيْنَ يَدَيْ literally means between your hands, so it means in front of you, so they're contemporaries. So it was an exemplary punishment. They were made an example, right, for those who were contemporaries of them, وَمَا خَلْفَهَا, those who are behind them, those who are coming after them in time. وَمَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, and we made it into a maw'idha, comes from the word wa'adh, which is instructions, guidance to do that which will benefit and avoid that which is harmful. And a maw'idha usually is powerful, it softens the heart, it's a reminder, it makes you think, reflect, and it makes you ready and willing to do something beneficial. So he did it as a maw'idha for everyone. But who benefits, right? Those who attempt to deflect the punishment of Allah. Don't do this, right? Don't play these games, right? And even according to what the Mufassirin say, that from amongst them, why were they all transfigured? From amongst them, there were a couple that said, "Look, don't do this." Although outwardly, but inwardly, making a joke out of it, But the rest just carried on. Right? So Allahu A'lam, if there were people that objected, maybe they were spared. But this group in general would receive this punishment. Right? So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection and afiyah, and we'll continue. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله.